I'm Annette, also known as the warm-hearted warrior diva, and King Jacob is here with us again for the second round of relationship stuff. Yay!
Welcome. Hello, everyone.
So if you want to just give a brief introduction again, you know the drill, so folks will know who you are.
Yes, my name is King Jacob. I am a hip hop and R&B artist. I also am a life coach. I am a real coach. I coach girls basketball at a local high school here in Denver, Colorado. I'm an avid cooker, so I love to cook food. And I just started my Instagram page called The King Chef, or I Am the King Chef. So look out for that too. It's I am the King's how King is spelled on here, the KXNG chef. And then you can see all the delicious stuff that I like to put together. I'm actually gonna make some stuff tonight too, so I can post it on there for later too as well.
Can you deliver some to me? Like do a ship some type of, what do you call it? Like preserve it for me and like ship it with the bless you.
So,
God bless you.
thank you.
Well, I love your food. I mean, through the pictures.
Sure.
I mean, and the way you plate the items, the dish, it's gorgeous. I don't know how you do it, but wow, I'm taking some notes.
I got a magic wand. I put it in the apron, take my magic wand, and then I'm like, you know what I mean? I do my thing. So it's something that I'm just passionate about. Just one of the other things, form of expression.
I don't need nothing on the side.
I cook with a lot of love. So since I feel like I'm full of love, like why not
my
cook
phone be
and
blowing up
show that type of love too as well. And then I love to eat. Of course, I used to be like a big old giant dude because I was eating so much. And it was kind of like I got really obsessive when I started cooking. So it was an addiction more than anything for a little bit. But I mean, it was a good addiction because now I can cook really well. So
life is good.
Wow. Yeah,
You know
I'm
what I
a
mean?
foodie, so I mean everything that you made, I was like, wow, I wish that I was down the street, but maybe one day when I'm rolling through Colorado, I'll be like, hey, you had a dish for me ready? No.
yeah, girl, I'm gonna whip some stuff up right now. No, yeah, I got you.
Well, welcome to today's episode. And today is It Wasn't What You Said, It's What You Heard.
Mhm.
And apparently, the problem isn't what is being said, but what is being felt, right? Unheard or misinterpreted. What is your take from what is being said, what as opposed to what's being felt or unheard?
Well, one of my takes on that, and again, disclaimer, I'm not a relationship expert, but I've been in some relationships. So um, I think one of the biggest things when it comes down to that is how we communicate with each other. A lot of times there's lack of communication where it's like, I just want you to know how I feel. Like you should just know how I feel without ever me telling you. You know what I mean? I.e., you shouldn't have to tell a person to clean the dishes if the dishes are dirty, right? But at the same time, you know what I mean? You have like you got to use your words at the same time. So there's other portions to it where it's just like, okay, I also need to look at this in a different situation where it's like, okay, I'm talking to you and I want to express to you exactly how I feel. You got to be open to receiving that too. So the reception of what's being said is plays a big part in it too. Because if you're not the type of person that's just like, if you're always looking at your partner and you're like, oh, my partner's just rambling or whatever, and they're really trying to tell you some stuff. Um, I remember if I could look back in some of my relationships in the past where I did try to express how I felt, and I would like to think that I'm an effective communicator. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not obviously the best communicator in the world when it comes down to certain things, but I pride myself on making sure that I communicate. And one of the places where you can probably over communicate is in a relationship. So I think one of the biggest things is making sure that you have your words ready and you're using those effective words and not just certain words. But then the other person needs to be receptive. Whenever your partner's speaking, that's the person that you should pay attention to no matter what. Because we get distracted from life, social media, kids, situations, work, all these different things are distractions that we're always going to have that play an intricate part in our relationships. So that's usually my take on it is how are you receptive, and then the effective words, using effective words that
Yeah.
one should be using when they're speaking.
The communication, how it's being delivered and how it's being received. I think we kind of touched a little bit on the last episode, but also just even like the basics foundation, right? Say, for instance, you're coming home from work. I would like to just decompress. When you get home, you want to just like maybe go to your room, take a shower, whatever. Group, because you're like, you're changing from the work situation to the home situation.
Right.
That makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
So I think that sometimes there's no communication, right? Because by default, they already expect you to be like, oh, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm at home. I'm a mom. I'm going to cook dinner. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And that's the unfortunate thing when it comes to assumption. Just because, like, if you do everything, for instance, in the household, that doesn't mean that you're not human and
Right.
that you have needs. So what is your take on something of that sort as an example?
Okay, this is a good one. I used to work in the medical field. My ex-wife worked in the medical field as well. Anybody else who works in the medical field definitely would understand that. Excuse me. Would definitely understand that you have to decompress from those type of stressful jobs. And so I think the biggest thing is when you get to that point, you're just like, hey, give me a moment. I need a moment for myself to. The biggest issue obviously would be kids, because kids don't, they're habitual boundary crossers. They're, they're needy, they need all this stuff. And it's because they don't know those things yet. You know what I mean? Those are lessons that they have to learn along the way. But as adults, it's kind of unspoken when you get, depending on what point of your relationship, anything. And it all depends on communicating that. And it doesn't have to be complex. It's just a quick, hey, can I get a minute? I just need give me 15 minutes so I can decompress. Boom, got you. And as that routine comes on, then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, it's unspoken.
How about if you never speak on it, or maybe you've expressed it, but the receiver isn't receiving the message?
Okay. I can see that where it's like you don't express it because something at home, or not at home, but at work affected you, and to a point where you brought that home now. You know what I mean? Now you're home and it's like that same thing that was bothering you at work is now something that you brought with you. It can be misinterpreted a certain type of way where it's all like, oh, they must be mad at me. And then you can have like some arguments and things like that. It's like it really had nothing to do with you. Excuse me. But if someone would just say that, go out their way to just say that, then maybe that would help. You know what I mean? To be like, hey, that really made me feel this type of way, or feel that type of way. You know what I mean? It really would help if people would understand, to be like, okay, we need to make sure that we're doing better communicating that and not just assuming.
And how about on the other side of the coin, where um, I've expressed to you, hey, I need some time before I come back to the group or back to the family. Like, but the receiver like runs away. If that makes sense, like scurries on, right? Like, oh well.
Like they're not listening to you in a
Yeah.
sense like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, in those situations, that's obviously going to make things a little bit harder if they're not receiving you. I mean, but you could have other problems that are going on that causing you, other issues. So it's definitely good to establish that right away. I think this might be probably one of the smaller problems that you'll find in relationships, but it's still something that should be talked about.
Mhm.
It's when you're first coming home and it's just like, how are you receiving this program or what's being told or anything like that. Um, so I don't really think that there's really that big of an issue when it comes down to how you are when you're first coming home. The only thing is, if you're not going to take your issues to work,
Mhm.
don't bring the work issues home too.
Yeah, I guess if the receiver doesn't receive the message, then there's nothing really you could do except or adapt and overcome. Talk about a situation of that sort.
Well, in that situation where it's all like you're holding back conversation or you're holding back certain things that your partner might want to know, um, it really is situational more than anything, the way that I see it. And the reason why I say that is because there's certain things that shouldn't be said just in relationships. Like, all right, this is kind of blown out of proportion a little bit, but it's a perfect example. One of the things that you shouldn't say in a relationship, if you're with a woman, damn, that woman got a fat ass. Like, all right? That's one of the things that we're just not going to do in relationships. We're not going to be talking about other women, and you know what I mean. Or look at the print in his sweatpants. You know what I mean. We're not going to say those things, and that's just the basic, right? Obviously, we're not saying those things, but on the other side of it, it's like you shouldn't really hold back some of that communication. Now, the only time, and there's reasons when you would hold back certain communications. Obviously, if you're upset, don't a fiery, argument because you're emotional over something or something was misinterpreted. If you need time to process. Don't process and never bring it back up. Process and come back to it within a reasonable time. You know what I mean? And I think people lack to do that. And in our society where we're not brought up or taught to do certain things, we definitely lack doing that. You know what I mean? And um, certain it also based off of family dynamics, right? So some family dynamics they don't speak. I it's I was with somebody in a family dynamic where issues were never brought up. You know, they just kind of swept everything under the rug until they culminated into something bigger, and then they would just explode. And then it's just like, okay, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like you got to communicate. My family, they were over communicators, and we're all a bunch of fire signs, so we're all like feisty, and we're like, what is the family? The I don't want to be like stereotypical, but like the loudmouth New Yorker family or a New Jersey family, like, oh, let the kid eat whatever he wants. This kid over here does just eats everything. He just over here starving. I'm coming in here. I'm making. I want some food too. And it's just about like, Jimmy. It was like the black version of that type of family. You know what I mean? So communicating was something that we did a whole lot of. you know,
Okay.
and my mom would actually, she did a really good job of like having lectures and just being like, well, no, we're going to sit down, we're going to have a conversation. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm an effective communicator. Um, but then there's tools, there's other tools that you can use to communicate even more and express more. Now, I still come from that same generation where it's all like you know, speak when you're spoken to. You know what I mean? Which is terrible, terrible. The last generation, you guys failed. Don't. That was a horrible speak when you're spoken to. That was terrible. You should have never done that. You got a bunch of people that don't know how to talk now. You know what I mean? They can't communicate correctly because you're all telling them all the time you need to speak when you're spoken to. Like that's the dumbest thing in the world. You got all these people out here now who don't know how to talk and communicate. And um, that's the one thing that I do appreciate is how my mom she would open up the floor to be like, okay, how do you feel? Do you feel? You feel? She still would be like, I'm the mama though. So what am I saying?
Right?
So I'm going to end this conversation, but I do appreciate the fact that she did bring that out, and she was just like, no, we need to communicate. And I try to implement that into my family structure, where it's all like, no, we can have a conversation. The partner that I was with wasn't really attuned to doing all that because that's just not where she came from. So either way, I can tell you that that is one way where it's all like, okay, you can learn those tools, speak whatever is bothering you, whatever it is, and then when people start to get defensive of what it is that you're saying, first off, take a mental note of being like, okay, what is it that I'm saying? What is it? How is it that I'm saying it? So that it's not what this person's getting a hold of you. And then once you're for sure about that, the rest is left up to that other person. So if that other person's upset because you told them, I think your kids are being rude and not greedy, you know what I mean? Like, I'm right here or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that they shouldn't be upset about that. You should be like, oh, I'm sorry that you feel, you could even just be like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. You know what I mean? That's something that I can look at later on, but I've had somebody explode on me over that too. And I'm all like, okay, well, I just felt like it was a little rude and that's just my feelings about it. And I was just expressing my feelings. Now, as a man, and we come around and we start expressing feelings, and some women start being like, getting honest about us expressing feelings. What do men do? I'm gonna tell you what men do. We stop expressing our feelings. We
Right.
hold a lot of our stuff inside. I've been called a bitch by my partner. I've been called soft. I've been called everything word in the world, in every name in the world when it comes down to my partner, when it comes down to me expressing my feelings. And with that being said, I'm like, there's no winning in that situation, because at the end of the day, a man is going to rely on a woman for peace, and a woman's going to rely on a man for security. If the woman doesn't feel like she's secure, a man's not going to have peace. If a man doesn't feel like he has peace, a woman's never going to feel secure. You know what I mean? Because that's just like, oh, okay, well, I can't even have these things. What am I here for? What am I going to do? So that communication piece has got to be something that's huge, that's big when it comes down to that. And definitely effectively doing that when it comes down to it too as well.
Oh, wow. Um, you brought up two things that I totally agree with. The women wanting that security and the man wanting peace in the home. And those are like, it's vital, right? Those, you would think that that's like the basic foundation of a relationship.
You would think so. You would think, you're right. And you definitely would think that. And go ahead and we'll finish what you're going to say, because I'm going to say something else too that's going to add to this.
Like you would think that's like the fundamental thing of a relationship, as a bond between two people. And not only that, it's trust, right? Because security, peace, trust in between. I think it builds that trust. I think that's just my take.
100%. 100%. Now, one of the reasons why some relationships fail is because, and I can only speak it from this point of view. And the reason why I can speak from this point of view is because a lot of women have had to deal with a lot of deadbeat men. And so it kind of placed them in a position where they have to come in and be like, okay, I got to be the provider. So I got to create my own stability. And so now the woman's just looking for peace. And it's like, well, what's the man going to look for? You know what I mean? Like, what is his purpose? You know what I mean? You want him to be around, but he doesn't have a purpose now, especially when you go into newer relationships. If you're a woman who's out there, you're like, I'm an exec, I built myself up, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever, and this is how I am, this is my home. Well, one of the things you got to be able to do is understand that some men will be intimidated by that. I'm not saying that it's okay, because if you're a solid man, you're not going to be intimidated because your woman's out there making, ends meet and different things like that. Now you just want to be like, okay, it's an opportunity that if you want peace, you can be her peace, because that's what she's going to want. You know what I mean? Some men become so, and it really just depends, because it goes both ways. Like, a woman's ego can be inflated, right? And I know it sounds crazy because it's not something that we necessarily see, but a woman's ego can be inflated because they're the breadwinner. You know what I mean? And so they're the ones that are like, oh, I'm calling shots, this, that, and other, yada, yada, yada. And it's all like, okay, it makes sense. Well, what's my purpose in this? Okay, now let me be your piece. Let me do my part, and let me make sure that the things that bother you and that I know that will probably bother you, because I'll tell you what, women, I don't care what anybody says, do not respect men that don't make money. They just don't. I won't speak that for every single woman, but majority of women are like, nope. If you're not bringing in some type of money, you know what I mean? Like, you should, like, some of them are even go to the point of being like, if you're not bringing in this dollar amount, like, I'm not going to deal with you. You know what I'm saying? And in that case, it's all like, well, go buy whoever you want to go and deal with. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you're a deadbeat and you're not doing anything at all, every single time, I think Mike Epps said this. He said, every single time a woman looks at you, she looks at an unpaid bill. So how you gonna get some respect out of that? Every single time a woman looks at your deadbeat ass, she's gonna look at an unpaid bill. Of course, you're not gonna get this person that's gonna come through and be like this, oh yeah, nurturing person. They're just gonna be like, what are you doing here? You're dead weight. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're a grown man. Go get a job. Go do something with yourself. Go find your passion. All of that. And all that is very, very important. Now, on the other side of things, that's where things start getting a little bit flipped. You know what I'm saying? Because unless this dude is this like metrosexual, like, oh, girl, this, that, and other, like, I still like women, but I also like fashion. I like to, you know what I'm saying, and get after it and all this other stuff. And it's this nurturer. Now things are out of balance. You know what I'm saying? Because now we're talking about energy. We're talking about masculine and feminine energy. And energy can get thrown out of balance very, very quick with that. You understand where I'm kind of going with this?
Yeah.
Because you have this feminine woman who still likes to want to be nurtured and nurturing or whatever. Or she might be this person who's just like, I don't like to be touched, and this, that, and other. Well, are you the dude then? Because what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Because you could easily, I'm just saying, because you can easily have that same toxic masculinity within a woman. You know what I'm saying? That easily can happen. I think we talked about that the last subject. But that energy has to be, and how I tie it in with communication is understanding the roles.
Yeah.
You make the money, you make the bread. Now, I dealt with a woman that was just like, that's exactly how she just wanted it to be. I wasn't cool with it, not from the jump. When she told me, I was like, I wasn't cool with it. She didn't care about how I felt. She was just like, no, that's how it's going to be. And then it was just a dictatorship. That's all I was ever in. Like, it wasn't like something that I was like, okay, I'm dealing with the woman like this. It was just like, no, it's my way or the highway. And I'm all like, okay, well, first off, I have a lot of self-value. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't. I did bring in money. You know, I might not have been able to pay every single bill, but that's where we meet 50-50, because that's kind of what you have to do in a relationship anyway. And let me tell you, when you marry somebody, you are now started an LLC. I talked about this last time. You are a business now in the eyes of the law. You are a business. What you build together is something that you're supposed to build together,
Right?
Not alone. Unless they come into it, because I know some women that are all like, I come ready with all of this stuff and this, that, and the other. Well, you know what I'm saying? You're never going to be happy if you're just, I come ready with all this stuff, not willing to open up and be like, but I also share, and I also nurture, and I also love, and I also want to show certain things. But a man has got to be willing to be like, you know what? I saw what you're doing. I see what you're doing. You're helping me out. Even though I'm trying to build myself up and things like that, and you're helping me hold myself up, the man in turn needs to go and be like, but now I want to nurture this woman, and I put her on a pedestal. That's where you
Mhm.
start doing that. And that's how you can kind of balance a lot of that stuff out. I know
Yeah.
some dudes that's all like, brother, I ain't about to do no yada, 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 because they want to be on their high horse and prideful. Like, I ain't about to do none of that, brother. What you got me crazy right now. What you talking about? You got me messed up right now. I'm trying not
Right?
to cuss. I'm trying not to cuss.
No,
Um,
it's true.
but for real, it's the truth. And I'm all like, man, you old dusty ass. You know what I'm saying? Like this is we it's about to be 2026.
Man. Mine.
Man,
like,
you know what I'm saying? I ain't about to do none of that.
it,
Whatever part.
God out here for a few.
Right. Hey man, where's Terrence at? Hey man, let me tell you something, man. My name's DJ, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh gosh.
everybody needs a bottom B. And that's a bottom B right there. To bring you in a lava lamp and put it in your studio.
You know, I ain't gonna lie. Look, so what you just said, right? About you said a lot.
I did. Then I told some jokes that been there too.
no, no, but like for real, right? So I think women should be accountable. I think I spoke with someone about this, the accountability of relationships, right? And first of all, and I'm gonna try to stick to the the subject, but if a woman meets a man that's not working or in between jobs or trying to make it, but he has that potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of women, I too, had past relationships where I saw the potential in a man. And so it's like, okay, he doesn't have, he's not like higher paid than me or what have you. But I was like, okay, well, I'll give him a chance, right? But of course, there's like, there's there's consequences to it as well.
Sure.
And so I'll give you an example. There's one relationship that I went into. He didn't have a good job. It was bringing in, helping with a bill or whatever. And I helped him with his resume, built him up, like help, get his attire, whatever the case may be that he needed, right? And but then he cheated on me. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where you see the potential in someone and you're like, okay, well, he's a good guy. He fixes the house or whatever the case may be. And I feel like we have to be accountable because in the initial setting, you decided to bring that person in your home, right?
That's
To be in a relationship. And so you have to basically say, okay, well, I'm accountable for it. I know that things might, you know, go sideways or what have you. Nobody knows the outcome of a relationship. But you can't be blaming the other person because of your decision making, basically.
mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I think there's a lot of people out here. We all say, just in general, women, oh, there's no good man out there, but there's a man that has a steady job. Let's just say, for instance, he's a truck driver or he's a plumber or,
You're naming off some
what,
fabulous jobs too, by the way.
yeah, like, he's a working man. He
Mm-hmm.
believes in the hustle.
Yeah.
And his mind is just, there, like focused. He wants his family. He wants to be a provider, right? Um, and and he's just a stellar person. So why not get the person an opportunity? It's because we're so convoluted at this whole societal norm.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna bring it back, like, well, say the Dark Ages or like back to the jungle, right? I'm gonna say jungle because I'm originally from an island. We didn't have cars and all these things, you know. Matter of fact, the women went out and probably hunted. You know what I'm saying? So,
Or gather some food, gather
right,
some other stuff, some food to
right.
get ready. Yeah.
But I think if we get back in that mindset of, you know, this, like, take the material stuff out and just come back to the reality. Like, okay, we need each other. We need each other. We want to be with each other. That's a second hierarchy, but we need each other. We need to team up and, you know, come back home with, okay, you got the meat, I got the berries. Boom, right? But I think we all get lost.
What are we talking about? Meat and berries.
Whatever. The grain. The rice. I don't know.
My bad. You got the meat? I got the berries. What are you talking about now? Go ahead, my bad.
You know, I wasn't even thinking too much into it. Well, all right. So, where was I going with this? So basically, I think that if we come back to the reality of things, right? And I believe, like, even how COVID happened, that should bring more of a understanding of humanity and being and humility, because you know, the wife stay home, the husband goes out and work type of thing, but just coming together as a team and learning to help each other, support each other, because at the end of the day,
Absolutely. And I think that has to change in this day and age because and the reason why I say this is because there's a lot of people in this day and age, the family unit just looks different. You know what I'm saying? We got especially when it comes down to like same-sex marriages and I don't know. The first time I seen a family unit and the dude was pregnant and I'm all like, what? And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. They're transgender couple who swap sides. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean,
okay,
sorry, anybody. I apologize, but they swap sides, and now it's like, okay, he's this and this that. If that works in that family unit, then it's all like that works in that family unit. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to get to the point where it's all like we understand that things are completely different, but you got to get back to the same point of just being like, this is my friend. This is my friend. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to argue, we're going to get upset. And if I'm looking at you as a best friend, that should never break us apart. We just know that we can probably, and I'm a strong believer that say you're a couple, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's just two of y'all. Y'all might have some pets, but you don't have kids and you don't plan on having kids ever. And you end up getting older, growing older or whatever. Go get you a 3-bedroom something. Go get you a 4-bedroom something if you can afford it. And you guys have your personal space.
Mm-hmm.
Go get your personal space. A lot of stress is on the families due to finance and we have these kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know how it is. Like for me, one of the reasons why I love fatherhood is because I'm a big ass kid. And so when I was having, when I had my kids, it was just like, oh, some more people I can go hang out and play with. Like that's just how I am now. You know what I mean? And so regardless of what I'm taking care of and things that I'm doing, I'm making sure that that's how I look at it. And those are ways that I was taking doing things and making sure that the unit was working. But the family unit looks so much different now. You know what I mean? And things are just so different. But your solitude and your space is very important. Your time apart. And speaking of which, if I can, I looked up some statistics on here. That is the wrong code, of course. I think what it was saying is, let's look. I'm gonna just go over a few of them. So initial breakups happen and these are just Google statistics. So let me see. I can even show like where it came from, but 9 times out of 10, Google's kind of put on there or whatever. Marriage.com says women are more likely to initiate breakups than men. Okay. This one is the National Institute of Health. And you can go to nationalinstituteofhealth.org and find this statistic. For frequent breakups, studies find that 36.5% of participants experience at least one breakup during a 20-month period. So we know that that's a pretty large number within a 20-month period. And then the first year breakups are approximately 70% straight unmarried couples break up within the first year. So it's just going to show you that there's a disconnect that's going on in there. And one of the disconnects that I, just bear witness to is the fact that we have to adjust to this new family structure. Because if you look at back in the day, some of those older people, you know what I mean? They were like, oh man, I can't stand this woman, but they just stood by it. I can't stand this man. They just stood by it.
Yeah.
We didn't have social influence. We didn't have social media influence. We didn't have, you know what I'm saying? FOMO wasn't a thing. Like, people didn't have FOMO back in the day. FOMO, what the hell is FOMO? I took my pills. I can't have no FOMO. Come on. Like, they didn't have that, but now that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? So everything's looking so different nowadays. So, that's just one of the things that I think is a big issue. And then here's another one. This is also in marriage.com, and it said lack of communication is frequent reasons why excited relationships dissolve. Basically, why people get a divorce is lack of communication, and that's the reason why I keep saying, like, why we're having this podcast is to say. Hey, communicating is one of the key things, and effective communication, but not just communication, effective receiving. What I'm saying is that we live in the day and the age of the narcissist, which is, i.e., we have narcissism, right? And we probably have always had narcissism. That's another thing, but it's been perpetuated because now we know that to look at certain signs of narcissism, right? And I would agree that narcissism is something that comes from a very toxic masculine side of things. And the reason why I say a toxic masculine side of things is because a lot of times narcissists are often, it's often bred by lack of nurture. And the lack of what I'm trying to tell you, lack of this or lack of that. And who do we know that get lack of love, basically, as when they're younger, especially back when our parents were raising us? But boys, they're told to suck it up. They're told, you're tough. You can't cry. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? But on the other side of things, we also know that can also arise in females. Not as often, I would say, but it does happen, especially those who are like, nope, I'm gonna just make sure that I take care of everything on my own all the time. You know what I mean? And it just looks different, but it's still something that happens. You know what I mean? But even with being in that, now we have to look at this dynamic totally different, because
I gotta get her and go. This is what it is, and this is what I know. This is what it is, and I gotta get her and go.
Now, if you have a narcissistic relationship, or you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you have what is called gaslighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which also messes up communication. 100%, because it's intentional. I'm not messing up in communication. Now I'm intentionally messing up communication, because I'm going to make you either, i.e., believe something that didn't happen, or tell you something that didn't happen, or tell you something that happened and tell you that it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically gaslighting 101. With and I'm all like, remember I expressed to you how I felt about this? I don't remember you ever saying that. You didn't say that.
Right.
You were my intimate partner, and here you are telling me that you didn't say this. I had my ex-wife tell me that she wished that I was dead. And I remember going back and this is, I think this towards the end of our relationship. And I was just like, remember, like when you told me that you wish I was dead? And she was all like, I never said that. And I'm all like, okay. Right then I knew that shit was over. Excuse my language, but that was over. You know what I mean? Because that's something that you don't forget.
Yeah.
Don't forget somebody telling you that they wish you were dead. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you just you're not making that stuff up. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Now it's starting to change and turn into something else. You know what I mean? And so that's part of the problem that we're seeing in today's society. And then there's that sneakiness and there's this, that, and other. But that's the reason why people are turning to being like, but I don't want to never not have that communication, or I don't want to have that connection with people. So something that was probably also something that was happening back in the day, but didn't come to light until social media, is incomes polyamory relationships. You know what I mean? And then it's just like, well, a bunch of people, or it's whatever. We're just open, and then it's this or it's that, and we can talk about all this other stuff. You know, and I can go down to a whole type of different list of these type of relationships. I've been approached by couples myself, and I'm all like, what?
Oh.
Like, come again and say what? No, I'm good. like, nice try, Diddy. You can go over to the next person over here. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And so we're living in a day and age where if you are going to hold on to being that traditional couple, communication is key. It's 100% key. And get to understand a person before you get too deep into relationships. Nowadays, me personally, 5 years. I need to know you for 5 years before I ever, not necessarily commit, but before I ever move in with you. I'm not jumping in I'm not moving in with you until I know you for 5 years. And that doesn't mean you don't call me on that. Like it could be sooner than that. But I'm just saying, like, generally, like the rule of thumb, like let me get to understand who you are for 5 years. And I'm gonna say this mainly for women. Don't let that dude move into your house right away.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
You understand him for a good 5 years. Okay? Because he can put on the charm, he can put on the grace, he can put on all these other things. You move that dude into the house, and next thing you know, he can turn into somebody else. Especially if it's like 6 months down the road. I don't know how the laws are out in all the other states, but it's 6 months to a year in Colorado, and that's common law, baby. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's common law. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna look at you and be like, "Well, he has rights. He has rights. It's where he lives." And if that woman is all like, "Well, no, I did all of this. I paid the bill. I built all of this." You know what I mean? It's all like, but he still has rights. He has normal living rights. Can't just kick somebody out. You know what I mean? You can't just do whatever. And I try to explain that to certain people who don't understand, but it is what it is. You know, at this end of the day, you gotta really understand. And the first person that you definitely need to go out your way to understand is yourself. You don't understand yourself, you don't understand how you are, you definitely are never going to understand somebody else. You're not. A period of solitude in everybody's life needs to happen. It's a necessity. There's some people like, I just, I function better with a partner. Like, okay. Because I know, like, there's some people I function better if there's somebody else that's there, I function better. Because you have some like abandonment issues, you're afraid to be alone. You know what I mean? Like those different things. And it's just like we don't like, come on. You don't have to have that. And here's another statistic. And this one's through let's see, we have this one, the US state breakups since 2022. Let's see, this is through marriage.com. How many relationships fail? They said messy breakups. And that's where we're going with messy breakups. Majority of Americans, about 58%, repair their breakups as messy, or excuse me, oh, sorry, excuse, I misread this. A majority of Americans, about 58%, report their breakups as messy and dramatic. 58%. That's a
Wow,
large. You know what I mean?
that is.
That's like F you, this, that, and other, yada, 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 yada. You didn't, yada. There's no cohesiveness with, there's no line of, it's just raw, filtered emotion. And, the reason why I would say this is because people aren't healing. They're not taking the time to heal before they jump into new relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was in a 15-year marriage and then a 3-year relationship. I'm almost worn out from relationships. I'm not even gonna lie. That's why I live by myself. You know what I mean? And when I say live by myself, like, and then my daughter comes over every once in a while, but she, or every other week. But then she's a teenager. Like if she's here, I'm still like, you know what I'm saying? Just
Right. No, for real.
serious. And it's me, and it's this big old apartment because I only got a small. It's a nice big apartment space. And
Yeah.
it allows me to think and allows me to understand myself. Who are you, King Jacob?
Right.
My real name is John Brown. Who are you, John? You know what I mean? Who's John Brown? Because John Brown was here before King Jacob ever was here. So
Yeah.
who's he? You know what I mean? And John Brown is a fun-loving kid. This kid that loves to make people laugh, that loves with a big heart. You know what I mean? John Brown has his own baggage too. You know what I'm saying? That he needs to work on. John Brown needs solitude. John Brown needs this. John Brown needs to look in the mirror and look at his bullshit and be like, you know what? I know that I mess up in that area. So I need my time. You know what I mean? And other people relationships, they don't cope. I'm in my solitude. You're not in solitude if you're always trying to have your kids with you all the time. Oh, it's fine. He's going to do this. I'm going to just take the kids and I got him this week. I know it was his week. I got him this week. I'm going to take the kids and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, no, make that, no, you're just going over there, have your boundaries, understand, get you a book, whatever you need to get. You know what I'm saying? Women are notorious for being able to rejuvenate self-care. Trust me, I've paid attention. I'm writing, taking notes. So, bubble bath, okay, check. Crystals, check. A nice little Chardonnay, check. I see that. Or a nice book, a nice knock, check. Yep. I'm gonna go and get my essential oils, check. Go get my manicure, my pedicure, and get my feet taken care of and pamper the mess out of myself, check.
Yes.
Men need to take, and we need to take notes. I take baths. I'll let you know. There's times I get my bubble bath going. I'll put some essential oils down there, and I realize why women do this too. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I have pink Himalayan Epsom salt that I take my spiritual baths with, that I rejuvenate myself with. Okay. That I got my essential oils. I'm not big on incense, so that's just me. I had a trauma as a kid. I had a godparent that was mean as hell, and she loved incense.
Man.
But I understand. But see, I wouldn't have understood that if I didn't take time by myself to understand why. Wow. What is it about me that I don't like? What is it about me? Why?
I just lit one earlier. It's
Powder came in your house and went, oh. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's so true because there's extremes though, right? So I guess for me, I didn't know that I had abandonment issues growing up until later in life. And I'm like, because I've always been in this solitude. So there's an extreme to this.
Sure.
And I think I got you beat, but see, I got divorced. Let's see, I got separated 2018, divorced 2019. And it's going on what I don't even know. I lost count. As far as being in a relationship, because I think it's there's a bunch of reasons why that I've been single for this long? Well, one, I have my kids, right? So I am protective of them. And two, I I guess I like my solitude, and like you said, just learning yourself. I got to a point where I fell in love with myself. I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah.
Like, like, wow, I'm really into me. You know what I mean? Like, this is cool. But then it gets to a point where, like, okay, that are you gonna open the door for somebody?
Mhm.
But I'm so comfortable with myself and my skin that now when I notice people like the narcissism, the gaslighting come into my purview, I like shut it down quick with a quickness, and I'll
Mhm.
let you know, right? Just in general, how people talk to me or how they are, right?
Let me ask you can I ask you a question about that? Would you call that you're like automatically cutting it down as a protective mechanism because it's a trigger?
That's a good question. No, I've learned that I think what ends up happening, I noticed that I will let you know, like, hey, this is something that happened to me. So I'll notify you as to, hey, how you came at me. I had an instance in the past. Like, I will let you know the
Mhm.
whole communication piece.
Sure.
So I'm starting to be more vocal about how the communication affected me, and
Okay.
why the person, and the person doesn't receive it, then that's on their trauma, or that's how they interact, and maybe as a safeguard method, which I'm going to get into on this next question. Like, say for instance, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, so slavery, right? You've watched like Color Purple, for instance. I'm just throwing something out
What
there.
color purple? What's that?
Uh,
I'm messing with you.
I can't, like, so, like, if I say something like, I'm telling a story from my past growing up, right? And
Mhm.
how I felt enslaved, or I felt like I didn't have a childhood, for instance, because I was Cinderella and I had all these responsibilities, etc. So, like, 12 years a slave. And then the person on the opposite end said, I mean, like, just bit my head off because I said that. And why would he would say, why would somebody even watch shows like that of their own people getting beaten up, blah, 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 just like went off on a tangent. Like, that really triggered him, right?
Yep.
And I was like, my apologies. I was trying to de-escalate the situation
Hmm.
because, like, he bit my head off, and I'm like, I didn't mean anything by it. Um, well, obviously, you watch these types of films. We don't want to watch our people being beaten up, blah, 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 which I
Sure.
get.
Whatever. Sure. Yeah.
But
So
anyway,
can I chime in on this?
sure.
All right. There's the trigger, and then there is a belief system, right? Like somewhere that you're just right. Well, we don't do that just because somebody else might have been triggered. So now I raised all my kids to be like, we don't do it, yada yada yada. And so now it's being affected by this person, and they were triggered by something just because their association of it is that it's negative because somebody brought it to their attention, right? Let me tell you what a trigger is. Period, point blank. A trigger is something for you to work on. That means that it's a signal. It's like pain, right? When you hurt yourself, that means that something's wrong. You need to tend to that, right? That's all a trigger is. When somebody triggers you, it's not for you to snap on them. It's not for you to tell them. I mean, you can tell them, don't get me wrong, especially if it's your partner, right? So if it's your partner and something happens with your partner and you're all like, hey, this affected me like this, and I wanted you to know that. Like, you should be able to tell your partner that. But it's not your partner's responsibility. Let me tell you why. Because a trigger just is nothing but something that you need to work on. Because if you're going around telling everybody what's triggering you all the time, that's to say, okay, I got to walk around on eggshells around this person. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta be very gentle around this person. This is the he, him, she, her. This is the pronoun era. That's where we're living in, the eggshell era, where everything is super fragile. I'm being honest.
That's true.
But this is where we're at with it. Not to disrespect anybody. I'll call you him if you're a her or whatever you want it, or them or they, whatever. I'll try to do my best. But if I slip up and you get upset, don't get upset at me. This is new. You know what I'm saying? This is new. Don't get upset at me if I knew you as a girl and now you're a guy and I call you by your girl name. I'm sorry. Don't get upset at me. You just got to understand that I'm trying to transition with you. I respect you because what it really comes down to is your heart. And there's people out there that I know. I worked with this person. I'm not going to say any names, but I worked with a person and I knew this person for a while. I worked with them while I worked on an ambulance as an EMT. And then I worked with the same person in the hospital setting. And in the ambulance, female. And I watched the transition from female to male into the hospital. And I slip up and say, where's she at? Or where's yada yada, you know? And this person, and then I saw and I was, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot your transition. And they're cool about it. They're like, oh no, it's all good. I definitely understand. And I told them this and I was all like, I apologize. I want you to understand that I'm transitioning to like not physically transitioning, but I'm trying to transition my mind with you. And they were very receptive and open about it. You know what I mean? And you know the reason why? Because I communicated that. Because of communication, because I spoke to him and I was effective with my communication and I told him this. And that's the point of why communication is such a big deal. Your triggers, although you can bring them to somebody else and be like, this is what triggered me, I can do better, hopefully a little bit to try to figure this out. But other than that, the only thing about triggers are just signals to tell you you have more work to do. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Triggers are.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. I think, and the individual, I mean, we're not like in a relationship. It was just like a general person
Sure. I know, and I get it from that situation.
Communicating with, and so the individual said, hey, I haven't spoken with you, and I was, I missed just chatting with you, and I'm wondering why you haven't like talked to me lately, and I gave a heart-to-heart discussion, and I said, well, to be honest with you, there's been 3 instances, maybe a couple instances where I tried to relate a personal situation of mine, from like childhood. We were just talking in general about childhood trauma or what have you. But every time I got to a certain point, it was like I got shut down because of what triggered him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. And I don't like drama. I don't have to deal with drama, and I'm good with my peace. And I said, well, we can still talk, but probably not in depth as how we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess he was receptive. He was like, okay, well, if that's how you feel, I'm like, well, I just let it be known. I mean, and it was calm. It was, there was no bickering or what have you, but I will definitely communicate that. And so this brings me to the next thing, right? So many people confuse silence with safety.
Yes.
Or assume like their partner or just a person that they're talking with can read their heart through their silence.
Yes.
Why do we think we're being clear when we're actually being defensive, avoidant, passive aggressive?
That right there has, obviously I don't really know the specifics around the silence. I do know processing. That's what I know about with silence. Some silence can be weaponized though. So I don't want to think that it's just all processing. Um, some of it is a response, i.e., like narcissism, for one, right? We know what's one way that you can disarm a narcissist: silence, gray rocking, and that's not showing any emotion whatsoever. You stop showing them emotion, you stop feeding them. And what is it that you're feeding a narcissist? You're feeding a narcissist emotion. And if you don't show emotion towards that and you gray rock it, you start feeding the one thing that needs to eat the most, and that's their ego.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so I learned that from a doctor that I work with. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Okay, we can put that the test, and and I'm able to do that and understand. But during the process of doing it, also processing my emotions, sometimes silence can be a way of manipulation, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's all like, okay, where's one place that one avenue.
I've been on this one way. Fly your body, my runway. I'm only in your city tonight, then I'm dipping. You're my only mission. Sexual.
I don't know how to explain it. One situation, one way. Let's just say this: there's one way that people can manipulate people, and that's through silence. And they typically you'll see that a lot with love bombers. People will come in and they're all like, "Oh, I love you, and I'm sharing you all this stuff, this, that, and other." I went to high school with a girl that was just like this. Yeah, it's all about you. You're so great. And just compliments, compliments, compliments. To this, I don't even see you now.
Mm.
And I'm like, huh. And I noticed it. Me being the person that I am, thankfully, I just noticed this. And I was just like, And I called it being sometimesy in the past. I didn't know that it was love bombing, to be honest. I didn't know about love bombing until I was an adult. And I was all like, love bombing, because we start having all these titles for everything. But I called it sometimesy. And I knew that I didn't like being around sometimesy people. I vowed that I would never be friends with this woman again. I.e., after marriage, this woman is right there again. And I'm all like, oh my God. All because the wife that I had was so attracted to the same person, because, like attracts like, negative attracts, they're peas in the pot. You're attracted the same. So it was just one of those things for me where it's just like, okay, well, I understand this thing, and I know what I'm not going to give to. So that that silence can be weaponized, though, too, as well, when especially it comes to like with love bombing. So that's one thing that we got to be more aware of and more cognizant of. Now, some silence is just processing. Like, you're going off the handlebars, or you said something to me that really fired me up. Give me a moment. Give me a moment, because I don't want to respond emotionally to you and just pop off and say something that I can't take back later. And so
Pop out and show something.
I don't want to have to come out and be Kendrick real quick.
Right.
Be Kendrick on you. But sometimes you just got to pop out and show it. It's the truth, though. Sometimes you just you don't want to just go off on anybody, and so you need to process your. My daughter is notoriously good at this. This is who I learned it from. My youngest daughter. I just need a moment, yada yada. She goes and she takes her time, she processes it, and then she allows and expresses how she felt. And I love that about that girl. She does that. She does it very effectively. You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, I had to take that from her. She teaches me too. She's not, she doesn't have to be the parent, but she definitely teaches me certain things. So I have a lot of respect for my daughter. I show my daughter a lot of respect. We can have a whole segment on how you're supposed to raise your kids. That'll be for the next series.
Right. No, for sure. The same thing with my kids. It's really interesting. They definitely, like baby girl, my youngest, she'll say, well, I think you should be more nice to Matthew. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was doing something. Okay. My apologies, like I I'm not I'm one of those parents where I'll be first to apologize
Yeah.
because growing up it was you can't tell me anything, I'm
Mhm.
the whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, we got to change all of this stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm teaching my kids, like, yeah, we definitely have to have this conversation about kids and parenthood, what have you.
Hmm.
I'm teaching them everything I know while I'm alive. Like, okay, the real world is this. And you have to, I was showing Matthew like the credit score, and you have to do this. And he was like, Mom, I have to learn. I'm like, yeah. But anyway, it's, one of those things where uh, it's an open forum, but then, you have to be respectful and mindful amongst the conversation in the household, because it can turn into like a feud if it's not mitigated. So, say for instance, if someone said, one of the kids said, "Oh, he's a bum," and I'm like, "No, don't say that. That's not nice to your brother, and he's trying to just help console you, what have you."
Hmm.
And then he'll apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Right.
That's the type of dynamic that we have going on in my house. It's a lot of laughter and banter. But anyway, moving on, right, from this whole silence, because maybe the person is super busy, like, you know,
Like,
super duper busy, like you're super busy, right? I mean, you're in the medical field, and they don't need to be silent, but they got like a whole bunch of things going on, like maybe two jobs, kids, right?
are you speaking in a sense of like if you're in a relationship but you don't live together, or it's like even in a text, like I'm texting and then you don't hear from somebody for a while?
It could be either, or it could be like even business. It could be like you guys are cool, like business partners, or you
Mhm.
guys are trying to collab. Let's just say, for instance, another music artist you're collaborating with, right?
Sure.
But they're a stellar person. But
Hmm.
it's just that, because that's what I'm finding out from different people, like their personal life, they have so many things going on, so learning to digest that information and like work around the schedule. You get
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely understand where you're coming from. Um, I mean, that's where communication is going to have to come in a little bit better too. Obviously, so my rule of thumbs when it comes down to texting, I never take text literal for what people are saying. I
Mhm.
always, but if I do hear something that I'm trying to get standing of, I'll ask through the text. Are you upset in this text? Like, are you this? Are you that? Because one thing, text messages can get very um, misunderstood,
Mhm.
especially if it's just regular everyday texting, because you don't understand or hear what the tone is, or anything as far as that goes. So it's hard for you to understand like what's this person really trying to convey to me, because I don't
Right.
I don't hear how they're talking to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Also, silence can mean, I mean, cut you up, but silence can mean like, oh wow, I need to check on the person. You know what I mean? Like, are
yeah,
they okay? Did they? I mean, God forbid something happen.
yeah, and that's another thing that you can, call up somebody. Hey, you good? Because I haven't heard you for a while. Yeah, yeah, I'm good. I just got caught up. My bad. Perfect. Are you text message? Hey, I didn't, you straight on the other side? Yeah, I'm good over here. Yada, yada, yada. Or, you text, you don't hear anything back from a person. So you call, you don't hear anything back from a person.
This is what it
You
is,
still
and
let it
this is
go, let
what
it
I
go. And then you
know.
find out
This
that
is what
something
it
really bad has
is, and
happened.
I
Like
gotta
that's
get
another
her
end of everything too as well. And that's why it's important that we're doing. And that's why we're talking about this, to be all 100% honest. Um, but yeah, it's all relative. It really is all relative. And I know without a doubt we have an issue as far as like how we are perceiving things with one another. And now it's just power struggle. Like I see couples
Mm,
and it's power struggle. That's it. And they get
wow.
away from the fact that they're with a loving partner, or somebody that they should love. You know what I mean? It's just 100% power struggle all the time. And it's just like, it shouldn't be that way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's your partner. You know what I mean? Um, and your partner,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
yeah, go ahead.
it no, you brought up a good point. It's so true because the thing about it is this, you're supposed to share your life with that person. And
Yeah.
so when you come home, kind of like talk about the situation, but a lot of times, unfortunately, they go outside of the relationship. And then that's when it just like blows up. Like he say, she say, and then you don't even know the person you're talking with. Say, for instance, because I'm a hermit. And that's one rule of thumb for me is if I'm in a relationship, I don't disclose my information or my relationship with others because that's how private I am. I'm like a protector of my man, if that makes sense.
Makes tons of
And
sense.
I don't want anybody to look at him in a bad tone, if that makes sense. So anyway, but say for instance, a woman goes out and starts talking to a girlfriend like, this blah 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 whatever. We had a disagreement, blah blah blah, and then not knowing because you never know that your girlfriend has a liking to your husband or your partner, and so they're like, "Oh, girl, just leave him alone," blah blah blah. And so the person leaves, like gullible or whatever, and not really bring that information that started the rift back to the partner to kind of discuss, hey, what can we do about this?
Mm-hmm.
So then now you broke up with the person, and then the so-called friend. This is cliche, but you heard it all the time, like hear it all the time. The girlfriend goes and starts dating your ex.
Yes.
So, what is your thought on the whole communication before, like preventive medicine, before you start talking to your family, your friends, your la 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 la,
I mean, that kind of goes back to my rule of thumbs of being like, you give yourself enough adequate time to understand the person. So don't jump into something right away because you want to make sure that you're with a solid somebody. You know what I mean? But you also have to use discernment.
Yes.
Tool. It's a tool. It's something that's given to you, and a lot of times you don't learn it unless you're into something that caused you a lot of emotional pain, right? So
Right.
sometimes you'll learn that discernment until you're with somebody who's off the rocker or something bad happens, like a child passes or a loved one passes, and you don't learn these things because, and I'm a highly spiritual person. We can have a whole spiritual podcast.
No, for real.
Why these things are starting to happen from the stuff that I've been learning and studying. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is just having your discernment because you never truly are going to know unless you implement that into your life because people are treacherous. They're treacherous. They don't care. You know what I mean? They just do stuff off the fly. They fly off the seat of their pants or whatever. I think that's how the saying goes or whatever. But
Yeah.
they just do whatever they want. You know. And so you want to make sure you're with a solid group of people, and it sounds because like you sheltering a man because I don't want my friend to know. I don't want to, what I mean? It's not going to do anything. Honestly, like I once had a woman approach me while I was married and she was like, I saw her, we talked, we were in the club, we talked and everything. I was dancing and everything. And she was gorgeous. Don't even whew, I'm like, what type of woman? Like, brother, where did you get that one from? And she really was digging me. But I walked away. I talked to her, said, you have a good night. And I walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just outside and she approached me again. And she was like, how come you didn't ask me out? And I was like, I'm married. That's why I didn't ask you.
Right.
That's my ring on my finger. I'm married. Like, that's the number. I appreciate the conversation, but I'm married. She's, oh, okay, I see. She's all, and then she says to me, if I was married to you, I wouldn't let you in the house. And I was like, red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag for me. That's
Lord.
all, like, she's like, I don't want to be anybody's prisoner at all either.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm all like, that's a red flag to me, because I'm like, if you can't trust your man to do what I just did to you,
Right.
tell you I'm married and walk away,
Why even be with
respectfully,
that person? Yeah.
why be with that person? So right then I was just like, if I ever ran into her and I'm single, I would never date her.
That's great. Well, I mean, the women, I mean, but both vice versa, men too. Like, yeah, that would be definitely lots of red flags.
I was the door guy at a nightclub, and let me tell you, if I wanted to, I could have went home with women all the time. But that's
Right.
not what I wanted to do. I was there to make a little extra money. I was
Yeah.
really there to help a friend out, because I didn't need the extra money. I worked in the hospital, but it was a fun time, and I really enjoyed the energy and the
Yeah.
atmosphere. And we really did set the tone for people to come in and be like, I'm gonna have a good night. And I'm all like, you better come in here and have a good night, because I'm telling you to, because if I have to put hands on you, you're gonna get beat up, brother. So you might as well have a good night, And
Yeah.
so I would always tell me and the other guy that would bounce, and I'm all like, man, dress up, get nice. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because this is how we're setting the tone. We're not gonna have messed up nights if we're setting the tone for people to come in and have a good night and
Right.
feel welcomed. And I tell you what, the buddy of mine that I was working for was like, dude, we haven't had any instances since you've been here. Now, there's
Wow.
another person that I worked with who was a hothead. He
Mm.
was always looking to start stuff, and I was just
Yeah.
always looking at him like, dude, why do you instigate stuff with people? Like, you're the door guy, you know? And his, I know, had an underlying problem. He probably was bullied when he was a kid, because
Okay.
he's a scrawny dude, but he ended up he ended up learning martial arts and all this other stuff, and he was just like, yeah, I dare somebody, I'm looking at him like, you were bullied as a kid, I can tell. Like, I can see right through. I'm
Right.
like, bro, like, chill, like, you can set things off way better. And there's a guy he was just belligerent drunk that was in there, that he just like went, touched like did something, touched one of the paintings, and one of the girls was all like, this is my friend's painting, don't touch this. And she came to me like, he met with the painting. And I was like, and I went over and talked to him like, hey, can you not touch the painting? Like, we can have a good night, still touch it. And he's like, yeah, man, my bad. I wasn't even aware. This is what he told me. Wasn't even aware that I touched the painting. Perfect. All right. And then he goes over, still talking to the girl that I knew.
Oh no.
And so she goes to the other dude that I was working with, the scrawny guy, and he's like, what? Okay, all right. And he goes in there, snatches the dude, brings him over to the door, like, you gotta kill him. I'm free to me, you're messing with her, this, that, and there, you gotta go. And I'm all like, whoa. I just talked to the dude. He was cool. Like, what happened now? I don't know, yada. And then he just attacked him,
Oh my God.
like, throws him out, puts him on the ground, starts hitting him with all these like combinations, because he was martial artist, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
figured it out. And the dude had size on him. This is a crazy thing. Like, the guy I was talking, he's tall, but he's skinny, but he had moves. This dude hit him with a 1-2 and this, that, and other, and then knocked the dude out. And then I'm all like, yo, bro, why? It was too much. It was just way too much. I was just like, you didn't need to do all of that stuff. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at the other guy, and I'm just like, yep. And the other guy's on the ground, I'm like, fight's over. He's like, what happened? He's like, you lost. That's what happened. That's what happened. You're done. It's over. I'm like, the referee, like, I'm on top of him, like, it's done. You're done. And then he gets back up, like, come on, man. Yeah. And I'm all like, no, you lost already. Bruh. There's no more needs to happen. And so it was just an instance where it's all like, effective communicating prevents stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? And working on your triggers also prevents stuff like this. So it's a lesson in it all. And I'm just looking like, bruh, like, I don't put hands on people until it's warranted, because they are putting hands on me. That's why it's called self-defense, not self-offense. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Oh man, that's a funny story. Funny, well, not at that time, but funny now.
I got tons of them, man. I got tons of funny stories. I got
Oh
tons
my
of
god.
crazy stories too, and sad ones, but it's just tons of stories. It's crazy.
Yeah, we should do an episode on what happens in the hospital or EMT stuff.
I can tell you some stuff. We can do episodes where like
Oh
just
my
talking about
gosh.
crazy stuff, crazy stories of the ER. It'd be dope to like do crazy stories of the ER and have a reenactment being like that. You know how they do those
Right,
cartoons now, and you do like
right.
the AI cartoon or whatever, and it's all like crazy stuff of the ER. You guys would be like, what? I would love
That
to
is,
like reach out to other EMT friends too that I know and just be like, hey, can you share some of your crazy stories of the ER? We're doing this, you know.
yeah, for sure. Look, that's it's funny that you mentioned this story because it's not just what you say,
Mhm.
it's how when when you say it. How can tone, right, or
Yeah,
timing completely flip the meaning of a message?
it really does flip the meaning of a message. Like me telling you to sit down, like, or saying it like this, you can go ahead and sit right here.
Uh-huh.
You can go ahead and sit right here. Like, which one do you want to hear?
The
You're gonna
first
want to
one,
hear me say, you can go ahead and sit right here. You know
right?
what I mean? So even the tone of how we're talking about things, you know, a tone could be condescending.
Sit your ass.
Sit your ass down. Hey, excuse me, will you sit your ass down? I still want that.
Oh,
Like,
that's true.
you know what I'm saying?
Hey, 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 sexy man.
There you go. You're gonna be here like that. Hey, girl, need you to sit your ass down. You know, like whatever it is.
That is too funny. That is true because you can still say a curse word or a derogatory word in a sexy way.
Yeah. Like I don't know if you
I
know the
don't know.
there's the clip. Hold on, hold on, but there's the clip. And the dude's all like, the guy's all like, he comes in and he's all like, starts speaking, and I think there's a parrot there or whatever. It's the black dude, and he's all like, "How the fuck you know what?" Excuse my language again, but he's all like, "How the fuck you know what's good for me?" And he's all like, "Hey, sir, you don't need to be cussing and loud in here, okay? You got, you know what I'm saying?" And he's all like, "You got to choose, like, just like don't be cursing in here and loud." And he's all like, "Okay, my fault. How the fuck do you know what's supposed to be good for me?"
That's a good one. That is too funny. Catch up on the next episode of Miscommunication, the silent killer of connection in Jacob's world. No, King Jacob's world.
Yes, it's always a pleasure. One thing that I will say as an exit is to make sure that you speak, speak with intentionally, and speak effectively. And then also to be able to have an ear to hear and listen exactly what it is that the person, whether it's relationship, business, whatever, um, is trying to convey to you so that you can effectively receive it as well. I'm your boy, King Jacob. You can follow me at I am King Jacob on Instagram. I'm King Jacob on Facebook. I'm not King Jacob anywhere else except for in real life. But I do also have my new Instagram account, which is I am the King Chef. Um, Follow me there. You can look at all the delicious foods that I'm putting out as well. And, you know, it's always a pleasure to be here with the net.
Well, thank you so much, King Jacob. And hopefully one day I can try one of the dishes that you have on the picture because it's different. You can just roll over the picture, but you can't really
You don't
Try
get that smell. You have to
the
smell the taste through the picture. You're right.
right, exactly. Please follow him on Instagram. I'm at In the Know 360. That's INTHEKNOW 360 for more talk behind the mic moments and exclusive drops with King Jacob. And until next time, please also continue to support the Unity for Social Justice.
Yes.
Let's free Monster and all our brothers and sisters that need our support. This has been a broadcast of Showing Love Full Circle between NNO 360 and King Jacob.
Hey.
Harry C. Carney Sr., director of the film documentary Put the Guns Down, A World Epidemic. And if you guys haven't tapped in yet, please, please, please be sure to go on Apple TV, Prime Video, Google TV, and Peacock. Make sure that you check out the film, okay? Put the Guns Down, an world epidemic. And we need to work together for this movement. So I'll see you tonight. Annette, warm-hearted warrior diva, at In the Know 360. Love you.